Hi, everybody. I am so excited for today's conversation. We have someone who I've recently met through the AJC Coaching Career School. Her name is Julie, and you are just a ball of fire, Julie. I love it. You have a fun, spunky personality, and we got into some great conversations just around client creation and generating conversations that this is the theme of the conversations that I'm having here with people. And so I'm really happy to have you here. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself and just who you are and what you do.
Thank you so much. So I am Julie Brown, as it says on the bottom of the screen. I have been a full-time coach since 2015. I've been around quite a while, as I often say to people. So I've lots of experience in lots of different areas. I'm currently working with leaders who are still in the office while they're at home with their families. Their brains are still like all the things they have to do, as well as working with coaches to help them build their businesses. And primarily, the coaches I work with are coaches who have been around for a while. They've had a couple of clients, but they usually are wondering if this is really cut out for them because it feels so difficult. And I'm here to tell people that you don't need to spend an absolute fortune to grow your coaching business, and you can. You don't need to overcomplicate it, and you can. And when you're having fun, people resonate with that. You attract the right people, and the people who don't like it are perfect to go for the people that they are perfect with. We don't try and serve everybody and be perfect for everybody. We be ourselves because it's really easy to be ourselves and build a business from that as opposed to trying to fit in somebody else's mold. I have
I,
two children.
yeah.
I have a 37-year-old and a 16-year-old. So I really am that crazy. And my youngest has just left school, as has my grandson, who is the same age as my youngest. So, yeah, quite a story to tell.
I love that. Um, and as you were speaking, I love that you said our goal isn't to serve everybody. I remember I was speaking with a mentor of mine one time, and basically the spirit of what she was saying was if if I was like another person or I had their view, she said, well, then that person probably wouldn't be here, right? And I love that because we each have our own unique being and ways of doing things. It's not about trying to serve everybody. It's not about being the other person because otherwise they wouldn't be here or we wouldn't be here, right?
And how boring would the world be if we were all the same?
Yeah, yeah,
Where would be the fun
absolutely.
in that? Right?
No, yeah, none at all. So thank you so much for being here, Julie. And I'm really excited for this conversation because I think as coaches, when we hear about uh, when we hear about showing up with love, a lot of times when we first hear this, or even sometimes in moments, we may be going, okay, but I still have a coaching practice to
Mhm.
build. And so I think this is wonderful just to talk about the being and also the practicality. And so yeah, I'm just really excited to dive in. What was, yeah, could you tell us just a little bit about your journey of what that was like to enter this world of being, but also wanting to create clients? Yeah.
So, as I say, I've been around quite a long time. I initially trained in NLP and then went on to hypnotherapy and master prac, advanced NLP and hypnotherapy, and then trainer in both. And then I co-trained for a few years with my initial mentor. And I was also introduced in 2015 to the nature of thought. through Jürgen Rasmussen, who was a one-to-one mentor for a while with me. And I really love Jürgen's approach. And it was the first time I'd really heard that our thoughts create our reality. And that actually it's not what's out there that's creating it, it's what's going on in here. And of course, I didn't believe it. Of course, there had to be exceptions to this. So I went on a bit of a quest to figure out and answer all of my questions. So I dove in. I've worked with Michael Neal. I've done something with Rich Litvin. I've worked with a number of different coaches throughout the years in different frames and different thoughts. And I first came across Ankush, who we are now working with, in 2015, and when I joined his Facebook group. And when Ankush was moving into the being and starting to share more and more of that, because I respect Ankush so much, I was like, what's going on here? I think I might need to have a little look at this. I'd already grown my practice. I'd already worked on building and creating three principal programs that are in schools and have taught in private practices from coaches. And then lockdown hit and everything went out of the window. So I did a bit of a pivot. And I went more into the being, and I attended the first event that was held in London. And it was a fabulous event. And I looked into the being, and because I'd already had a pretty good grounding in the three principles, it it wasn't too much of a step to add the being and infuse the being in that. Because I think who we are speaks louder than what we see anyway. And I've always known that. So it just gave a bit of a bit of a label to how we are. So I just incorporated that and I take bits of everything and figure out what works. I'm far from a purist in anything.
Hmm.
I'm a combination of everything that I've learned, and and that works for me. And as I say, I'm not trying to be anybody else, so I do what works for me.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for really sharing your journey. Heard some of it before, but I hadn't heard all of that. And um, it's nice to meet someone else that also isn't a necessarily a purist, right? Because I think for me, I don't know about you, but I can get interested in a topic and then I'll dive into it, and then I'm usually on to the next thing. But I've taken the core pieces that I really
Cool.
enjoy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so when it comes to what did you notice, I guess, in terms of, I know we're talking about this element of being. Do you notice, I'm just curious what that meant to you in terms of your journey between I know you said you had built a full coaching or a full practice before you had heard about that, and then you've been introduced to this idea of being. Are there any differences that you notice in your approach, or how you're showing up? Yeah, I see you nodding. I'd love to hear.
Absolutely. I dropped all the tactics. I literally walked away from all of the marketing techniques, all
Hmm.
of the must do's, and I was just more. I literally ramped up me, and I talk quite quickly, and I often say, try listening to me on two speed. So you can imagine ramping up some of me is an absolute repellent for some people, but it's also a magnet for others. Right. And when I'm sharing what I'm saying, when I'm sharing something as the truth, but I'm not telling people that this is what's true for them, but I'm inviting them to come and play and come and explore with me, it makes things so much easier. So instead of having targets to meet, I just connect with people.
Hmm.
Instead of filling in all of my conversations and having a rota, like I just help people. Like literally somebody said to me the other day, like, how did you build your reputation up? And I said, been around a long time and I've helped a lot of people. And
Mhm.
there's no investment in the helping people. There's no ulterior motive in the helping people. And people can feel that that's who you are being. They can feel who you are being. They can feel your energy. They can feel if you've just got a little bit of, please convert it to a client. Or there's a little bit of that, like, I really want the client. They can feel that. But they can also feel like, yeah, let's have a conversation. Like, try, like, what about this? Let's explore this. Let's play with that. Let me know how that goes for you. Do you want another conversation if it's helpful?
Mhm.
And when you know the people that you work with that well, and you know yourself that well, it's like two and two equals four. It just adds up. And it makes everything so much easier than having to create funnels and see people as prospects or numbers.
Mhm.
And we just connect with people as people. Because especially I think since lockdown, there's been and even more with AI coming up, and I love AI, so I'm certainly not gonna dismiss AI because I absolutely love it. But with the more and more AI that's out there, I can see people are going to be craving the human connection more and more. So
Mhm.
people want more of who you are. They want more James. They don't want more AI James. They don't want more funnel James. They want more James.
Thank you. More Julie as well. And I have a question for you on this because I imagine someone might be listening to this and they love the idea of connecting with people, and at the same time going, okay, I'm building my practice. What have you found helpful in order to almost hold this balance, right, of wanting to be with people, not seeing them as a prospect, wanting to really transform lives and make a difference, while also knowing that what has probably sparked a lot of this being was the idea of building their practice. How do you kind of hold the two?
By being honest, I'm building a business,
Yeah.
right? I'm building a business. If when we have a couple of conversations, you say to yourself, I'd love to come and work with Jules, great, come and ask me how it looks to work together. If after a couple of conversations you're good, brilliant, recommend me to somebody else. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's as easy as we make it.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
literally, like how you heard me say that there. It's how I would say to anybody. Did you feel any ickiness? Was there any like neediness or anything in that, or was it
Yeah.
just an energy that was pure? That was just like great,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's it.
Right. So letting that. So it's almost right. Just letting it be, being helpful, and when you notice that, to yeah, invite them, right, to deepen that, and just kind of keeping that to the side, and the focus being of just being there with the person.
So
Yeah.
literally before this call, somebody messaged me and somebody referred me. So they asked if they could have a conversation. It's like, yeah, sure, of course we can. Will this person become a client? I've got no idea. I might have one conversation that might be all they need and they go off and fly. We might have two conversations and it might be obvious that they need some more help.
Mm-hmm.
After a couple of conversations, it might occur to me to be the next logical step is for me to say, right, it looks like you're probably going to need some longer term support. Would you like to look at what that would look like if it was with me?
Mm.
We are
Yeah.
we're all running a business.
Yeah.
It's not that we have to hide that we are running a business. We can be totally open and we can even start that at the beginning if we wanted to. So I have had some people come to me and I've said, look, you've been gifted this conversation. Like there's no pressure at all in this. But if after we've had a conversation, maybe two, that it makes sense for me to ask if you would like to look further, I'm going to give you that invitation, but it's not an obligation.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes. And, I imagine, everyone's at their own place in the journey of this. And I think of it as a little bit of the what do they say, the chicken and the egg, right? Because I think when we're out there serving and being, people naturally come to us, right? And when someone's stepping into this, there's an element where they might be wondering, well, where do I begin? Or how do I even enter into these conversations? Because I don't have people messaging to speak with me yet. What would you recommend to them, or what have you found helpful in terms of even starting to generate those conversations to be of service?
So, one thing I say to my clients who are building businesses is tell everybody what you're doing. If somebody comes and says to you, like a friend or a relative, like, how's your day going? It's been amazing. I had a conversation with this person today and I helped them do that. I'm building my coaching business. I'm loving it. By the way, if you know anybody who will benefit from a conversation, please let them know. If you go on a bus and somebody asks you how you're doing, I've literally created a client coming back from the first weekend of the AJC weekend on the train that I'd never met before by just having a conversation, having a bit of a chat on the train. She was telling me what she'd been doing that weekend. I was telling her what I'd been doing. She was like, I'm going to need a coach to help me do this. I went, let's have a conversation. That was it. Like if
Wow. And
you people say, and I know some of your audience will be thinking, yeah, right, it's okay for you to say so, because I've thought that about other people, right?
mm,
When I was not as laid back about my business as I am now. And my business I'm very serious about at the same time as being laid back. Don't get me wrong. But when we are really open and telling people what we are doing, without trying to sell to them. We don't want to sell to anybody, as in cold sell to anybody. But when we tell people what we do, how we help people, like how it lights us up, and we mean it, and the being has to come into this, it has to be real, because they can feel the underlying energy if it's not. That when you tell people that, like people tend to want to know more because that's not something they usually hear about, right?
yeah.
People aren't usually lit up about what they've been doing at work. Like I don't know many people that'll come and say to me, I've had a great day today, I was doing this, this and this. Yet coaching, like when we're in our rhythm, when we're like having calls like this and conversations, it fills us up. It doesn't take away.
Wow. I really love what you're sharing here, because I think there's a couple things that are coming through for me just as you're sharing, because I think what I've noticed is a lot of times people may move into coaching, right? They're leaving a job and maybe they didn't love their job, and they moved into coaching and they actually do love it. And when it comes to sharing with the people in their life, it's almost as though, right, that they might be treating it like the job that they didn't like. So they hide it or they don't share it, rather than what you're saying, right? Is, oh, I had an amazing conversation today with Julie, or I had a wonderful client and we worked on this. And actually having the energy to share the goodness of their day, just as if they were saying, hey, I went to an amazing concert the other night, right?
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
That I hadn't correlated those things in that way before. So I'm even noticing for myself, there's probably friends that I could share more with. So I, whatever you have just said is connected in a different way that I hope, who's ever listening to this, it's also, helpful to them, right? Because you're actually sharing the excitement of your day with somebody.
right. And you're
Yeah.
just connecting human to human. You're not trying to sell them. You're not trying to convince them. You're just saying, this is what I've done. And you don't even have to add on the, If you know anybody that would help, like tell people, send people my way. But you can't. There's no reason why you can't. You're building a business. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of times that people think growing a business, because it's a service-based industry, that we shouldn't be charging, fees, and we shouldn't be promoting ourselves, and we should just be like holier than thou, and that's a bit of a load of rubbish, quite frankly, in my mind.
Mhm.
Right? Because the amount of money that we invest in our training, that we invest in ourselves continuous, that our ongoing personal development never stops. I don't know any coach that doesn't have a million books or a million courses or a million programs that spent a fortune to go on to help people. So it's only right that as we elevate and the impact that we create elevates, that we can become reward. Our reward can be elevated, right? That's not a bad thing. But people in coaching, a lot of the time, come into coaching because they have had the benefits of coaching, right? They've had a personal experience, they've had coaching, and they've seen the power of it. But not all of them have got business training. And
Mm.
actually, building a business, a coaching business, is a little bit different from coaching, just coaching, right? We have to have some awareness that we are building the business. We have to have some idea of where we want to go, but we can make it still so much easier than a lot of gurus will have you believe.
Yeah. Wow. This is wonderful. I was laughing to myself because you said a million books. I'm like, oh, my bookshelf looks empty,
They'll be
but
somewhere else.
there's a closet of books over here.
Yeah,
You're absolutely right, and so it sounds like the best place for someone to start is to begin just sharing, their day and what they're up to with the people in their life, even if it's that they themselves are going through a training or something that they're learning for their practice, because even if let's say someone doesn't have a client yet, they're still learning this material that will impact people's lives. Um, and what has my attention right now is I remember through the conversation we had last time, you had mentioned that you had created a training, I believe, for a hotel, and I was fascinated by this because yeah, well, I'll let you tell the story because I don't want to give away the details. But it was something that was kind of unanticipated for yourself. Could you share more?
absolutely. So it was the first weekend of the AJC school coaching school last September, and it during going to stay at the hotel. It was held at the Rubens Hotel in London. It's beautiful Rubens at the Palace Hotel, and I'd taken some chocolates down with me for the staff, just just to be nice, just because people work hard and why not. So I was also sharing a room with two other ladies. We just we getting up together. We were just going to share a room. So as I went to the reception, they went, "Oh yes, you've got two rooms booked." I was like, "Whoa, no!" It was like £1,500 for the room. I thought, I'm not paying £3,000 again. I'd actually only booked one, but what happened was they'd upgraded me. So they'd upgraded me from the room, like with us three, to give me a room by myself, and they'd given the other two a room for them because the big suite had been booked out. I was like, "Oh, thank you so much. That's amazing. Thank you." And I gave them some chocolates, and I went, "I bought these for the staff. Make sure you get a couple." And it was just like, a mutual "thank you very much, how are you doing?" And later on that day, there in my room there was some gifts put in my room as a thank you for the chocolates. And so the next day I thanked the manager. I was like, "Thank you so much, really appreciate that." And he was talking about how much he loved listening to Ankush, and how sometimes he had a little bit of a listen outside the door. And I was like, "Oh, do you have his book?" And he was like, "No." And I went, "Well, would you read it? If you'll commit to reading it, I'll give you a copy." And I gave him a copy. And then the next day when we were speaking, he gave me some cookies in the room that night. And then the next day we were discussing some of the points in the book. This is all in between actually the actual weekend of the school.
Hmm.
And then he was off on the day that we came home. And I came home and I just had a thought, and I thought, I wonder, I wonder if I should just offer them a training, right? So I phoned up and I was like, "Hi Charlie, it's Julie. How are you doing?" And he's like, "Hello." And I was like, "I was just wondering, you're loving the book." He was like, "Oh yeah, I've just been talking about it in the staff meeting this morning." I was like, "I wonder, would it be helpful if I came down and did a training for your staff?" And he went, "That would be fabulous." And literally the next weekend that I went down, myself and Ankush created a 2 hour training, and we delivered the 2 hour training for the hotel. Now, I've never worked in a hotel. I've never worked with a hotel. I know nothing about hotels, but I know people. I can talk to people. I can ask what the problems are, and I know the being understanding and the pre-principle understanding and the grounding. And I know any noise and any surface problem can be solved from where we come from, who we're being in our grounding and our listening. So we created the training.
Wow.
And that's how easy it can be. Just following the nudge felt like a good idea. I'd created a bit of a relationship by just back and forth. We kept giving each other things, right? Yet it just flowed. But if you ask somebody how to get into a hotel, they're going to go, "Oh, it's terrible. It's really difficult. You've got to do this, this, and this." Or you can just ask if they would like it.
Right. Wow. That is something special. And I love that you are an embodiment of continuing to create that in just who you are and who you show up with. Um, what do you sense makes that possible for you, or what's the place that you're coming from that you just love to do that with people? The kind of supersedes the I need a client or anything. What is it about the connection with people that you love?
People are fascinating, right? People have their own stories, their own outlooks, how life looks to them, and how life can look difficult to them as well, right?
Mm.
And if we can show them that it's not as difficult as they think it's going to be, or it has to be, or is, why wouldn't we want to do that? Like, why wouldn't that light us up? Now, that's not to say that I don't feel all of the feels. That's not to say I didn't hang up for the phone from the Rubens and think, "Oh my goodness, I've got to deliver this now." That's not to say I didn't have loads of thinking about it. Because I'm human and I'm going to have the human experience and the human, "Who on earth am I to do this?" thinking. But we don't have to buy into our stories. And when we're walking our talk and sharing, I was telling everybody I had loads of thinking about this and what was I going to say, and created about 5 different trainings and I didn't deliver any of them. But like, that's authenticity. That's just realness. And that's what people connect to as a coach, because people don't want people who are polished and shiny and perfect. They want somebody who's going to connect with them. And what do I love is I love connecting with people. And that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. Wow. For someone who might be, um, let's say, how do I want to say this? For someone who might be a coach, and let's say they're more shy, and they're actually starting to open up more and share more of who they are. Do you do you have any recommendations that would be helpful for them to start to let go of, I guess, let go of that shyness and really just step more into to sharing who they are with others?
So you always know when the needle of service is pointed to your client, your audience, the person in front of you, because you're not feeling all the feels when you're focused on the person in front of you.
Mm.
When you're feeling all the feels, the needle's back on you. You're asking, who might do this? Am I doing a good enough job? Am I asking the right questions? What are they thinking about me? So turn the needle back onto the person in front of you if it's an actual in person conversation. If it's showing up online and starting to show who you are and how you are, start by documenting your journey. So share what you're learning and share why you're enjoying it. Share the impact and the insights that you're seeing. It's much easier to document than to create, and you can still serve and give a huge amount of value by doing so. So an example could be you're listening to this session today, this call today. You might have heard something that you thought, oh, that's different. You could literally go and document that. I was listening to James's podcast. The guest that he had on said this, and what I heard was, and what you heard. So you're injecting a little bit of you in, but it's not all about you. And you can build that up more and more. Remember, you don't get confident by just saying you're confident. Like I could look at a when I couldn't swim, for example, I couldn't look at the water and think, yeah, yeah, I'm confident I can swim. I had to get in and learn how to do it. I had to get wet. Right? And as a coach, you've got to get wet. You've got to get in the water. And sometimes you're going to go under. Sometimes you're going to be exhausted. Sometimes you're going to hold onto the edge and need to take a breather. But you just keep getting back in. And the more you do it, the more your confidence grows. And before you know it, you forget about the times that you were holding onto the side for dear life because you're too busy enjoying the swim.
Wow, that's wonderful. And I love how you said, really getting into the water, right? Getting wet, because there are going to be, right, people that they get into conversations with that might not be a fit, or it doesn't go anywhere. Or they might be having their own stories about what the conversation is. Um, what is your experience? Yeah, what has your experience been with that helps you really just focus on the next person?
First of all, I'm not going to be right for everybody. And through being more vocal in who I am right for, through sharing more of how I work, people who don't like that way don't tend to come to me these days. In the
Mm,
early days, when I was like, "Windows open, come and play me," like when I just wanted to help the world, then of course I have met people who I wasn't a perfect fit for. Of course I didn't get results with people sometimes. And of course that meant everything about me and my skills, right? With my brain going off in that direction. And you get back into the water. You speak to the next person. Not everybody has the right, not mindset, but just the right, it's the right fit for them to do that. But you're going to get rejections. You're going to get people who aren't happy with your services. You're going to improve constantly, and everything that you do is a lesson to build and get better with. And you either accept that as part of the journey, or you really get in your head and give yourself a miserable experience. And I know which I'd rather do now because I've done that and it wasn't very great. But we're all human. And if something isn't a great fit, or if you haven't been able to help somebody as good as you wanted, like check in with yourself. What would be the right thing to do in that situation? For somebody, it might be referring them on to somebody else and even saying, "Look, let me pass the money you give to me into a conversation for somebody else." That's more integrity than anything else. For some, it might be, actually, I think we didn't really connect as well as we could. Let's have another conversation. right? But check in with not with here. Here's not going to take you in the right journey. Check in with here, because here's not where the noise settles and you know what to do. Always trust yourself and don't compare yourself to other people. There's my TED
Yeah,
talk.
yeah, that's beautiful. And I was listening. It makes me think. I was listening to a speaker the other day. His name is Kyle Sees. I prefer his. I prefer some of his older work. And one of the things that he says, um, when we're in our head, we're focused on what we can get, and when we're in our heart, we're focused on how we can give to the whole world. And I think that that just makes the greatest difference.
Yeah, where's the needle pointing?
Yeah, yeah.
And somebody said something to me last year who was in the school actually, and I really loved it. And she said, "Nobody likes sales breath." I'd never heard that before. But one thing I always say to my people is, when you go shopping, let's just say you're going to go for a jacket or a dress, depending on whether you're a male or female, and you walk into the shop, and the shop assistant comes and says to you, um, "Hi, can I help you?" And you go, "No, thanks, I'm just looking." "Okay, well, if you want some help, like I can come and we've got these in, or we've got this on sale," and they sort of follow you around the shop. You're going to turn around and walk out. When you walk into the shop and the sales assistant says, "Hi, can I help?" and you say, "I'm just having a look," you go, "Okay, I'll just be over there. If you want anything, let me know." You normally go, "But actually, I'm looking for this," and you go back to them.
Right.
That's like, we don't want to be pushy. We want to be available.
Hmm.
And that also, part of that means, I use these metaphors, part of that means is that people have to know our doors are open. If we're being the best kept secret and we're not telling people that we are available for sessions, that we are available to help. Like, if you walk past a shop and the shutters were down, even if you could smell delicious smells, if it was a bakery and you could smell nice things coming from it, if the door's closed and the shutters are down, you think they're just cooking for a private function. But if the shutters are up, if the door's open, if the open sign's turned, you're going to go in. You have to be available and people have to know you're available.
Yeah. Wow. That's wonderful. And if you don't mind me asking, how do you hold that balance? I love that example. How do you hold that balance of the availability, right? Because let's say you have a full practice, but how have you found most useful for yourself to hold that availability of, even though I have clients right now, letting others know that you're still available or accessible? Yeah.
So I use social media for my business quite a lot. So even if I don't have any spots available, I'll still put content out and I'll give value and I'll still serve. In a personal way, I have my boundaries in place. I don't work Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. They're my
Hmm.
days off. They're my family days and my days. So I have my structure set up in a way that works for me, because if we're creating our business, it has to work for us, not us for the business.
Yes.
So if somebody really needs some help, and it's pretty, there is this really short time frame, I'll jump on a conversation, try and help them if I can. If they need more and I don't have that availability, I'll pass them on to somebody who has. Or I tell them I'll be available then. If you want to work together, then we can do that then.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Um, thank you so much, Julie. I've loved this conversation, and just like how you've illuminated so many different levels to being, and to this, as we call, creating clients or conversations. Um, is there anything else that you're feeling called to? Yeah, is there anything else that you're feeling called to share, just from what we've spoken about? Um, yeah,
Well, thank you for inviting me first. I really appreciate this. I know that it's a journey. know that you can your fees. So this is something that Anchor shares a lot, and that's that your fees are simply a way to manage your availability, your capacity. That they are not ever a reflection on your worth, because you can never be paid your worth, right? So
Right.
if your practice isn't full, get full, have conversations, even if it's a different rate than you initially would like to charge, as long as it's not a rate that you're going to resent. We don't do
Mhm.
that. But if it's a if you can get it, you can get as creative as you want to have people work with you. And notice I said as creative as you want. It has to be something that fits for you, and build your practice up with that, because when you're working with people, you have stories to tell about working with people. Those people know other people and tell other people, and other people see the results that they're getting and they want some of that, and the ripples grow really quickly. It doesn't have to take as long as you think it does to grow your business, but you also can't be a non-participant in your own business. You have to show up and get wet.
Yeah. Wow. That's brilliant. And it makes me think of one time I was listening to a mentor of mine, and she had said, you know, some people are wondering where their life partner is or significant other, but they're at home watching the TV. And you got you got to get out there. You got to talk to people. They aren't just gonna always show up out of nowhere.
In 2015, I did some training with Jamie Smart in London. And one of the things that Jamie said that stuck with me ever since is he was on the stage and he said, I could be really, really, really looking forward to a Chinese meal. Could you really fancy some Chinese food? He said, I could get on the phone to my mum and say, oh, mum, I'm just craving some Chinese food. I could go on the computer and tell people, oh, goodness, I've just got this taste for some Chinese food. I could get on the phone to my partner and say, oh, because they're at work, you're at work, I can almost taste it. I just want some Chinese food. He says, but unless I go in the kitchen and make some, I get on the phone and order some, I'm not going to get the Chinese food.
Hmm.
Unless I take my action, I'm not going to get what I want.
Wow. That
So
is
simple, right?
yeah, that one really sticks out to me. And I don't know why it's coming through, but I'll share it in case it's helpful for anybody. I there was a program in it, and it said, you know, you may be wondering, um, you know, maybe you're wondering what somebody wants for lunch, and you're going, oh, you know, maybe they want Chinese food. You know what? Maybe they want Thai food, or perhaps they want Italian food. And they said, well, what if instead of all this wondering, you just say, hey, what do you want for lunch? And so I think in a similar thing, instead of wondering all these things you can help people with, what if you just ask someone what they could use help with? Um, or
What
listen to what they're
simple is
saying
that?
they need help with. Yeah.
How simple is it? We overcomplicate so much from the best of intentions,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's not about using that as a stick to beat ourselves up with and say, oh, we're doing everything wrong. It's like, even ask yourself if you notice something's coming from the noise, like check in here and what's more true? What can you really help with? What do you really want to do now? How can you simplify this? Because it genuinely is so much easier than we tell ourselves, talk ourselves out of doing because of, and believe it is. It's so much easier. And the more simple we simplify things, the more we see ways we can simplify things. We show up, we tell people, we serve, we love, we treat it as a business, we charge, we share our stories, we share who we are, we be more us than anybody else, and we are consistent with that. Don't overcomplicate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Julie. And if someone wanted to connect with you or reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Find me on Facebook. As I say, I walked away from everything. I walked away from all of the funnels, all of the lead magnets, all of the things like that, because I wanted to show that a business could be created from and without all of that from scratch. And that's what I've done with working with coaches. I resisted working with coaches for years because of the coaches thing. And yet coaches kept coming to me for help in all of the programs I was in because I help people. That's just what I do. And so eventually when COVID hit, I pivoted after that and I started working with coaches a couple of years ago. So my website's still for leaders, but if you're a coach and you want to work with coaches, you can find me on Facebook under Julie Brown. And if you're a leader that's thinking, actually, I could do with some of this peace and some of this calmness and some of this less overthinking myself, you can find my website, and that's hello@juliebrown.info.
Excellent. And if anyone's looking for me, my name is James Wightman, and my website is jmwhiteman.com. Thank you so much, Julie. I appreciate you. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, and I hope it was helpful. Bye for now.
Oh, absolutely was. There's so much gold here. We'll see you guys. Bye.